Hey, it's Ryan with Paragon. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite props ever. This is the 1975 Logan's Run Deep Sleep Gun. I say 1975. It was produced in 1975 by Fred Kramer. He's actually the guy responsible for realizing this design. He was clearly inspired by the old Match-O-Matic table lighters. I'll throw up some pictures of those in a second. But if you take a look at the Match-O-Matic lighter, you can see where there's a small flash cage on the front. Clearly the entire angular shape of the prop is from the Match-O-Matic. And even the gas valve in the back, that when you open up a Match-O-Matic, you can see where the butane valve is. You can actually pull it out. So the entire design clearly taken from that. One has to think, did they intend on souping up, taking a found item like the Match-O-Matic and trying to paint it or otherwise make it look interesting and then use it in the film? Clearly the butane flame at the end would have been not eventful. I mean, it's pretty much tantamount to a big lighter, not impressive at all. But if you were to take that Match-O-Matic and industrialize it, that's what's happened here. Even changing the the butane in the back to something else. And we're not going to talk about exactly what that is, just because I really don't want to get into that. But if you're familiar with the piece, you know how it's powered and how the acetylene is stored in the back. And making for one of the best onboard practical effects props ever made. No wires attaching to it from the outside, no tubes running gas to it or anything like that. This was it. You flick a switch, pull the trigger, and you're in business. So this replica here is manufactured the exact same way. In fact, all these outer dimensions were taken from a screen use piece. And the only liberty that was taken was actually on the valve on the inside. The one thing that tells us we know Fred used the Match-O-Matic for his inspiration is he actually used the valve from the Match-O-Matics in the old flame guns. And you hear about all the problems they had with them on set, that sort of thing. That's just because the valve was so tiny, meant to do so much less, and it certainly wasn't built for the long haul. When I set out to try to make one of these, almost 30 years ago, I tried to use the Match-O-Matic valves, and they were just rotten, and the O-rings had gone, and they were terrible then. I can't imagine how bad they were all those years earlier. Anyway, for the sake of this piece, this came back to me. I had sold it to a friend years ago, and he had an issue. I don't recall exactly what it is. It could be as simple as the glow plug just went bad, and he didn't know how to wire a new one on there. For whatever the reason, I bought it back. I've been bad about keeping pieces I've made over the years in my own collection. This was an opportunity to add one or two more of these. I don't have many of them, but Paragon's certainly not going to make them. It's just an interesting prop to talk about for the sake of functioning movie props. So again, all the outward dimensions here and everything that you see is accurate. The way the prop functions is identical in that it uses acetylene passed over a valve over a glow plug, and then you get the telltale arc. And hopefully we'll get there with this one. So let's pop it open and see where we are with everything. The first thing we want to take a look at is the acetylene tank in the back. Now this, of course, is made exactly like the originals were, out of machined brass. There's a small snorkel tube. It's a tongue twister, a small snorkel tube to keep the acetylene debris when the reactions formed from going up into the prop. And even that's really not good enough, and that's what this felt is for, that's in a filter tank. This is also the same thing that you find on the original prop. I don't really have all my tools here, but we'll make do with what we've got. We've been having some terrible weather over the last few days with this storm coming through, just parked over top of us, dumping tons of water. So this is kind of my rainy day project. I've got a bee here, so I figured it was a good idea to film this. One of the other things we did on the inside, so taking a look at the inside of the prop, the originals were just bandsaw out of aluminum plate like you see here. Powering the prop was a Gates battery. I think they used Hawker cyclone batteries too, but they were a rechargeable battery of its time that could put up a little bit of power. When it came time to replicate these, it was easier just to put in a battery pack where you could just swap out the batteries rather than having to keep that old battery under charge. And on the originals, they had stuck the battery in between the plate here and bondoed over it, actually forming the grips. So we kind of recreated that here, but all so much easier just being able to change this out like that. And as far as kind of stripping this thing, opening everything up, it's pretty simple. Again, I hate not having my regular tools here. Tough to get anything done with these gloves too, but there you go. And one more, hang on one second. This is actually what holds the filter tank in place and keeps it from spinning when you crank the tank down. So everything should open up. There we go. So what we end up with here is a gas feed tube, the valve, the filter tank, and then of course the gas tank in the back. As the gas is stored here, the spent chemical will get trapped in the felt. The gas will pass through the valve, through this tube, and there's yet another delivery tube inside of here, little venturi hole allowing a little air to get into this. And then everything ultimately arcs over a glow plug, which is here, and we'll put that in there as we try to get this thing to work. But I'm not seeing anything odd here. The ground is hooked up. Of course, the wire's cut to the glow plug. So I'm gonna cut right here and go and solder a wire on real quick. I'm gonna spare you guys all that. And then when we come back, we'll pop some batteries in this thing and we'll see if we can get some pressure on the tank and actually get it to fire. But that's pretty much it. As far as functioning pieces go, again, it's long since been my favorite. I can't think of any prop made for film, you know, that handheld that makes such a wonderful effect. And you know, clearly one of my better part, one of the better parts of the film is the prop. I mean, Logan's Run's a lot of fun, but man, the prop, that's responsible for me getting into doing what I do now. So let's take a look in a second and see if we can get some power to this glow plug, and we'll see what happens. See you guys in a second. All right, that only took a second. Didn't do a thing here except wire up an old glow plug. So to recap what we've done, well, let's put the batteries in. How about that? So we make sure our glow plug is working, and it is. So hopefully this was just an electrical issue with this prop. The valve feels taut, feels like it should. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this to happen. Like I mentioned up front, the onboard effect for this is what makes it so great. It's just such a clever design, and it's not that I don't want to share. It's the info's out there. If I turn this into a science experiment, I don't want people to dabble with this stuff who otherwise really don't have any experience with it. The guys who know how it works, essentially acetylene gas passed over the valve, over a glow plug, boom, you get your arc. It's how you make the gas. Miners have been wearing this stuff on their head for years. Cave guys, same thing, acetylene lights, helmets. Even old cars used to work on acetylene. Street lights worked on acetylene. It's a simple chemical reaction in the back of the prop. It's just, I'll just stick to the fun stuff for the sake of this video. So we're going to take some of our magic rocks here. Usually it takes 7 or 8, but I'm sticking a couple in there, a couple extras, just so we can test the valve. Oh yeah, another thing. Normally what would happen is, back in the day, let's just do this, a little bit of, it's just regular water. Normally the prop makers would take a syringe and they would shoot water in the back of the tank and then fuss with getting this screwed down super quick. What I did was stick a little hole in it so we can start the threads, and then you can stick this in the prop and inject the water into it, where the reaction kind of starts instantly as far as the acetylene goes. So we're gonna let that set for just a second. We'll go ahead and stick the grips back on. Now the reaction in the back of the tank, it's instantaneous. We could probably shoot it now as long as everything's functioning properly. There's a chance all this is for nothing and it doesn't work. But yeah, let's see if we can get there real quick. I'm gonna put these on because this thing is super loud. When you hear the effect in the film, the psh, psh, it's real. I mean, they could have done a little bit with it in post, but these things are super loud. The arc sound is well, it's unmistakable. So let's see what we get. All right, so we're working. Had a little bit of a backfire there at the end. I'm going to check that air valve and see how everything is lined up. But ultimately, I'm going to take this, I'll strip it all down to nothing, clean it back up, hide the wire up through here as it's supposed to be. This was just quick and dirty to see how everything's working. But yeah, we are there, man. Everything is working great. See if I can get a couple more shots off it. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to play with that a little bit, see where we can go with it. Once I get everything cleaned up, repainted, have it looking pretty again, I'll share with you guys down the road. But there you are. There's the 1975 Logan's Run DS gun. We'll recap real fast. Works on acetylene from the back, pass through a valve, over a live glow plug. Boom, onboard effect. Just genius. Genius. Love it. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk soon. See you. Bye. You know what? I'm having just way too much fun to give you guys just one take at this. We're going to shoot it one more time. In fact, I've already loaded it up. When I mentioned earlier, by the way, about cars running on acetylene, I meant car headlights, of course, running on acetylene, not vehicles. Anyway, so we're loading up one more time. Let's see what we got. Oh, it's just so awesome. Love it. Now I'm going to set the smoke alarms off in the office, I bet. Anyway, there you go, guys. One last look at the Logan's Run DS gun. Hope you liked it. See you later. Bye.